Hi, I'm Carly and welcome back to Farmer Analytics. What if I told you that using dewormers on every one of your animals would actually make those parasites stronger? Parasite resistance is real and it spreads really fast. Let's dive into what resistance is, what Refugia is, and how we can help maintain parasite loads that we're actually able to treat. When you deworm, you kill most parasites, or at least you assume you do. But when there's resistance, those parasites survive, and all the parasites that were not resistant are gone. Meaning, you're left with an entire population of parasites that are resistant to your dewormers. They propagate, they lay eggs, they end up on your pastures, and then your pastures are completely consumed by parasites that are resistant to that dewormer that you've used over and over again. The few resistant ones survive, and those ones that survive reproduce, and you essentially end up with an entire population of parasites that are resistant to your dewormers. Over time of this happening over and over again, you keep losing those parasites that are effectively killed by your dewormers, and you end up with an entire population of resistant worms. This is where resistance really starts to show its head, and when you go to use those dewormers, they don't work anymore. This is where Refugia comes in. And Refugia is essentially leaving a population of parasites unexposed to your dewormers so that they will be effectively killed when you need to use your dewormers to help an animal out that may be sick and struggling from a parasite load. Now, how do we make sure that there's some parasites that go untreated? We don't treat all of our animals. So this means that we spot treat our animals, we treat when we see a sick animal, or we use fecal eye counts to determine which animals are high shedders and contaminating our pastures. And those are the ones that we want to treat, and everybody else we just leave alone. We don't want to touch those parasites. It's okay for them to have small loads of parasites. It's actually normal for parasites to be inside of our animals, just at lower levels that they can effectively manage and stay healthy with. Now, the untreated animals essentially will mix in with our treated animals. We know that those treated animals are going to have some level of parasites that stay resistant and end up back on our pastures as a resistant population, but all of our untreated animals are essentially going to dilute that out and offer a population of parasites that are not resistant to our dewormers and mix those back into the population. By mixing untreated worms with resistant ones, we are essentially creating a refugia and slowing our resistance. So how do we make this happen in real life? You don't need to treat everyone. And we also use fecal eye counts to help guide us on which animals to treat and which animals really can be left alone and create that refugia population for us so that we have a population of worms that are treatable. We would consider this strategic deworming rather than planned deworming or everybody gets dewormed at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. We want to strategically deworm and make sure that we're leaving populations of parasites that are susceptible to our dewormers. This protects the efficacy of the medications you're using, the dewormers you're using, and it also protects our animals from ending up with parasite loads that are untreatable. So testing before deworming, keeping a refugia population, and checking after treatment can all be really effective to make sure that you don't end up with severe resistance on your farm. At Farmer Analytics, we offer fast, reliable fecal eye count testing that you can use exactly for this application. It's as easy as collecting a sample, sending it to us, and then we will send you your results back so that you have a great idea of those populations that are within your herd and which animals you may or may not want to treat. And as mentioned, fecal eye count testing can offer you a fecal eye count reduction percentage. And if you have a fecal eye count test from before treatment and after treatment, you can figure out your fecal eye count reduction percentage. And this is really important to know how effective your dewormers are that you're using. This will give you a percentage of efficacy and essentially tell you whether or not your dewormers are effective anymore. If you want to send a sample, check the description box for our link to our website. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you next time.